We are back. It's the Joe Holka Show presented by Line Movement. Pumped to announce a new segment today, 3 studs, 3 duds. So we're going to talk through some of the most relevant players for Week 13 fantasy football and DFS that we might have especially high hopes for, might be especially low on overall. And I say we, because thankfully I don't have to do this alone. With me yet again on a Monday, Sigmund Bloom, co-owner of footballguys.com. Welcome back to the show, my friend. Doing things a little bit different this week. I'm excited about it, but how was your Thanksgiving week overall?
It was good. I can't believe it took until 2020 to finally have a smoked turkey. You know, I know we have those connections to the turkey and the baster and all of the very delicate treatment, but a smoked turkey, I think, is the key to a happy Thanksgiving from now on.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a bummer that we didn't get that night game. It's one that I look forward to, definitely. But we got 2 decent games, and hard to completely complain. Was just talking about this before we went live, and some of the viewers obviously know from the Sunday stream. But my girlfriend's we're literally sitting there at Thanksgiving dinner, and she's like, "Hey, can we throw in one of those like single game line?" I don't even know what she called it. I was like, "Yeah, sure. Pick from these captains or whatever." And she's like, "Who's that Gibson guy?" It's like, I don't know. He's a running back. It's in a pretty good. He's a pretty good spot. The game script will be good. She's like, yeah, I'll take him. So she turned like $250 into like 4.2K. So apparently she's the fantasy person in the household right now. So that was good.
Yeah, my father is a legendary gambler. Wasn't a compulsive gambler, but you can find Las Vegas Sun newspapers from the 70s with him on the cover, like winning the biggest highlight jackpot or something like that. But when my mom would go to the races with him, it drove him crazy. He taught me to read racing form when I was 8 years old. And picking horses is a lot like fantasy football, where you convince yourself you know what's going to happen and why it's going to happen. And sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong, and it's really random.
Yeah.
And he loves to tell a story. My mom would love to tell a story. It's her birthday today, actually, so it's perfect that I'm telling a story. It makes you rest in peace. She died back in 2012. But she and my grandfather, her father, and my dad went to what was it? The Meadowlands south of Pittsburgh. And they had the jackpot where like you pick the winner of the first 6 races, something impossible. And she just picked the numbers out of thin air, and she put $2 on it, and my grandfather put $2 on it. My dad was like, you don't know what you're doing. And it hit, and they split like the $50,000 jackpot.
Oh my God, that's the best. Just that always is the way it goes, right? Like that intuition. Sometimes we're a little bit too close to it, probably in some ways. Yeah. So Sig, this will be fun to do something a little bit different this week. 3 studs, 3 duds. Your first stud for this week, going to go through a little bit of a rapid fire here. David Montgomery at Detroit, or I guess versus Detroit. Detroit is on the road in this one. So reasonable price in DFS. So this is a kind of an interesting one for me. But fantasy football overall sounds like he's a guy that you're in on for week 13.
Well, it's just Detroit. Just play everybody against Detroit.
Yeah.
I mean, we could pick Allen Robinson here, maybe even Mitchell Trubisky. They said, what did Matt Nagy said? Well, I guess so. Might as well play Trubisky. But you saw Montgomery had a renewed burst coming off of that concussion. Was involved in the passing game, and it's just Detroit. So if we did get something really good on Thanksgiving this year, Joe, it was what led to Matt Patricia and Bob Quinn getting fired. As we talk about the Lions fans always in that unenviable position of rooting for your team to lose, so maybe they won't lose as much in the future.
I'm with you. That was, we'll see what happens. Sometimes we see these teams rebound after losing their coach. We saw it a little bit with Houston at times, but we'll see. I think that one's interesting. The prices are definitely right. Allen Robinson is one we talked about in the DFS first look this week as just being really underpriced relative to his volume. So the next guy, your first dud ever in this segment, is a guy that some people were a little bit excited about last week. So Wayne Gallman, coming off a game where he touched the ball 24 times on the ground, had 5 targets. This week, he's going to be playing against the Seattle Seahawks. So tell us why he's a dud in week 13.
Colt McCoy sounds like the name of a sheriff, from the 19th century, right? And you think of Colt McCoy coming in on his horse, and he's got a cap gun. He's not going to be able to. He's got a pea shirt. And I just think that this Giants offense is going to be so limited by him, and also limited by Jason Garrett's play calling, and also probably falling behind to Seattle, that this is when the 5-game scoring streak probably comes to an end for Wayne Gallman, and all that momentum for the Giants comes to a halt here. As in some ways, Colt McCoy's the perfect quarterback for that gain 10 yards every 3 plays offense. I ain't going to get it done against Seattle.
Your next stud is a guy that I feel like we've talked about a ton on the course of the show throughout the week. But, I mean, fantastic spot for Miles Sanders at the Green Bay Packers this week. He's only 6,700 on DraftKings. So he's your stud number 2. Anything else outside the matchup, I guess, tickle your fancy for Sanders this week?
Well, we'll see revising this after we watch him tonight. But when you've watched him since he's come back from that knee injury, and we saw it before the knee injury, he can take any play to the house, certainly against this Green Bay defense. For instance, the run that Montgomery had the longest of his career, that 61-yarder last night, Sanders houses that. Hopefully the Eagles get him more involved as a receiver out of the backfield. We saw them push to win the division last year by making foundational player. We've talked about this already. Keep wishing for rational coaching, but like you said, the price is right to wish for it again in week 13.
Doing things a little bit different with the Patreon contest this week. So it is, if you're not a member of the Patreons, definitely would get in the Discord. It's $1 per month, 25 cents per week. A lot of conversation, basically anything, right? Fantasy football, betting, DFS. We also have an exclusive DraftKings tournament. Normally we'd be giving away a $30 Amazon gift card. This week we're going to do a little bit different. So I'm sitting at 42 ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts right now. So for every rating and review that my podcast gets this week, I'm going to add $1 to this prize pool. So who knows? It's really up to you guys. How many will we get? That's how large the prize pool is going to be for first place in this tournament for the Patreon. So I think this will be a fun little twist on it if we do it and it goes well. Maybe we'll do it again. Again, just really, this is for you guys. All the profits kind of just going back in to the group. I just wanted to kind of say thanks for 10K subs on YouTube, which has been a really cool thing. Obviously, we're doing these live streams right before kickoff only for the Patreons in the Discord, the NFL Red Zone stream room. But I think it'll be a cool little twist on that. We'll see how many ratings and reviews we can get on Apple, and it'll be right at kickoff. We'll cut that off, and then that'll be the prize pool here. So thanks a lot, guys. Move on to dud number 2, Higgins. I mean, I guess this is a guy that we've talked about a little bit. Actually, Harmon seems to bring him up quite a bit. In this spot, in this week, what's the I got to double check this one. Higgins, we got at Miami. So I guess the Cincinnati offense overall is one that I'm still a little bit trying to figure out with Joe Burrow. It sounds like you're down on him this week.
Xavier Howard is more likely to get an interception than Higgins to get a touchdown in this one. I think that's the thing. Is like Howard likes to match up well against these long receivers, and I just think with Brandon Allen throwing the ball, Higgins' touchdown might have given us some hope coming out of Week 12, but I have no hope for Week 13.
So we do have some hope in Minnesota, it sounds like. It sounds like you're not worried about Dalvin Cook. It seems like he's kind of gone down the last couple of weeks with like some sort of injury, right. But just like the role is completely insane. He's still 9,500 on DraftKings, so they didn't move his price whatsoever. So we'll see if people, I guess, are hesitant to go after Dalvin Cook. Derrick Henry is a similar price point this week, but I mean, at home versus Jacksonville has to be a spot to jump back on Dalvin, right?
And we see this Jacksonville defense probably coming in very tired, having to tackle Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. You also have last week, it was a dud for Dalvin Cook because of those back-to-back touchdowns by Jeremy Chin, something we'd never seen before. Or that took them off of the Dalvin Cook track, which might actually be a good thing because he didn't get 30 touches going into this one. They'll give him as much as he can handle.
I like it. So I guess we're going to wrap up here with, I guess, kind of where we started, full circle with this Thanksgiving slate overall. So Gibson is an interesting one because he's kind of one of those guys that we would rather attack when he's going to be in good game script at Pittsburgh in this spot. Price down on DraftKings is 6,800. Sounds like at least this week, Antonio Gibson might be a dud for you.
This is a real tough spot for him. I think that you're going to see in the J.D. McKissick offense more on the field in the second half of the game. I think you see the Steelers really teeing off on this offense, knowing that Alex Smith can't push the ball downfield, that he's not very mobile. We can go back to week 1 when the Steelers played Saquon Barkley, and they were meeting him in the backfield, basically. Sometimes they were getting there as the ball was being handed off to him. I think that's how they're going to key on Antonio Gibson. I think it's a really, really tough spot for him.
It'll be interesting. This defense has just played so well. If there's anyone that can kind of make things a little bit more difficult on Ben Roethlisberger and this offense on the other side, but I'm with you. Still feels like a McKissick game, if anything, for the Washington football team in week 13. So that's it. 3 studs, 3 duds. Just to recap, Sig's studs this week, we got Montgomery, Sanders, and Cook. As his duds, we do have Goldman and Higgins and Gibson. So I like that group quite a bit. We'll keep ironing out, I guess, this segment as it goes on. But I like the idea of getting 3 guys you're especially, I guess, bullish on for the week, but also 3 guys that you're kind of, I guess, backing away from slowly. So this was fun, Sig. Anything else this week? I guess kind of we got some craziness right before we recorded this, that it seems like some of these games and postponements, it's going to be a weird week overall. Maybe we get, I guess, a Wednesday game now, not a Tuesday game. It just seems like craziness, man. How have you been dealing with this from a season-long perspective, all this different stuff? It's been tough for content. It's been tough for DFS, but I guess we should just be happy we have football, right?
And it's really just a more difficult version of the same puzzle we've been trying to solve every week, right? We always have incomplete information. We always are dealing with probabilities. Now we have this extra probability of the game being played, and we're learning how to calculate that, just like we've learned how to calculate things with these offenses and defenses as it changes all along. So it's a new challenge, but it's really the same thing we do, which is pretending that we can predict the future.
Sigmund Bloom, everyone, co-owner of footballguys.com. Follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom if you haven't already. Of course, you know Football Guys. That's where I started. So if you're serious about fantasy football, definitely recommend them if you're just starting out your journey. Of course, we're getting to like some of the most important weeks of the entire season. So check them out immediately. Sig, always good time talking football, my friend. Best in luck at week 13, and we'll talk to you soon.
Always look forward to it, Joe. Thanks.